Welcome to Crook Productions. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and grab your free guide, Frequency Fundamentals, link below.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into the one skill, the one single thing that truly separates a bedroom demo from a professional radio-ready track. It's this invisible force that shapes every sound you've ever heard. We're talking about frequency.
You know that feeling, right? You've got a great song, the performance is killer, but when you play it next to your favorite artist track, it doesn't hit the same. It might sound a little cloudy or thin or just kind of small, and you probably think the difference is thousands of dollars in super fancy gear.
But here's the thing. The real secret is way more accessible than that. It's about understanding and, more importantly, controlling frequency. This is the secret language of sound, you know? It's the very DNA of what makes a mix feel powerful and clear. And today, we're going to learn how to speak it. All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to start with the fundamentals, but I promise you, we are breaking this down into practical knowledge you can use like right away to hear music in a completely new way. So what even is frequency? Well, it's really just how many times a sound wave vibrates, goes up and down in 1 second. And we measure this in a unit called hertz. So for example, when you tune a guitar to a standard A note, that string is literally vibrating back and forth 440 times every single second. That's 440 hertz.
Now, the physics behind this is actually fascinating. See, low frequencies, like a really deep bass note, they have these long, powerful sound waves. They carry more energy, and they can travel right through walls. I mean, that's why you can feel the bass from a car stereo way before you can actually hear the rest of the song. High frequencies, though, like a cymbal crash, they have these short, kind of weak waves that are super easy to block and are very directional.
And to really put that into perspective for you, get this. A single sound wave at 20 hertz, which is like the lowest frequency we can possibly hear, is about 17 meters long. That is the length of a bowling lane. That's the physical space that a deep, rumbling bass note is taking up in your room. Wild, right? Okay, so we've got the physics down, but here's where it gets a little tricky. Our ears, they don't actually hear all of these frequencies equally. And this is an absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle for understanding why mixes sound the way they do.
So our hearing is most sensitive to frequencies right in the mid-range, which is, no coincidence, right where the human voice lives. We're actually way less sensitive to very low bass and very high treble, especially when we're listening at quiet volumes. And this isn't a flaw in our hearing, it's an evolutionary feature. It literally helped us focus on speech to survive.
And this right here illustrates the concept perfectly. It's based on something called the equal loudness contour. At low volumes, you see, the mid-range just seems to totally dominate. But as you crank the volume, your perception starts to flatten out, and you begin to hear that deep bass and those sparkly highs much more clearly. This is exactly why a mix can sound absolutely amazing when it's loud, but then feel kind of thin and lifeless the second you turn it down.
Okay, so let's translate all this science into the practical language that audio pros use every single day. We're going to go from the physics of hearing to the art of actually describing what we hear.
This table right here is your cheat sheet. When an engineer says a mix sounds muddy or boxy, they're not just being vague. They are pointing to a very specific problem. There's a buildup of too much energy in the low mids, usually somewhere between 250 and 700 hertz. And when they say they want to add some air or brilliance, well, they're looking way up in the high frequencies to add that incredible sense of sparkle and space.
So how do we fix the mud and add the air?
Get your vocals sounding pro and unlock over 100 free plugins. Both ebooks are free to download right now. Link in the description.
Well, it all comes down to the single most important tool for controlling frequency, and we're going to frame this not as some technical device, but as a genuinely creative instrument.
Here is the crucial point you have to remember. Sound is competitive. When the bass guitar and the kick drum are both pumping out energy at, say, 80 hertz, they fight each other. One of them masks the other one, and you just lose all the clarity. This is the central problem that every single mix engineer is trying to solve.
And the tool they use for this is the equalizer, or EQ for short. Now, don't just think of it as a simple bass or treble knob on your stereo. No. Think of it as a sonic scalpel. It allows you to perform incredibly precise surgery on a sound, carving out specific frequencies with pinpoint accuracy.
Now, there are two ways to use this scalpel. You can boost frequencies, which is called additive EQ. But the real pro move, the place you should almost always start, is subtractive EQ. This is all about cutting the problem frequencies. So instead of trying to make the kick drum louder, you carve out a little sonic space in the bass guitar to let the kick drum shine through. It's a total game changer.
So here's the workflow. You hear that the vocals and the rhythm guitar are kind of fighting for space. So you identify that the clash is happening right around 400 hertz. So you grab your EQ, you make a small, surgical cut at 400 Hz on the guitar, and just like that, the vocal pops out with this newfound clarity. You've basically created sonic real estate.
And when you apply this technique, especially to that mud range we talked about earlier, the effect is, it's just dramatic. It literally feels like you've just lifted a thick, heavy blanket right off of your speakers. Everything suddenly sounds defined and open and just professional. So let's zoom out a bit. All of these technical moves, cutting mud, creating space, they're all in service of a much, much bigger goal. Creating a mix that connects with the listener on a truly emotional level.
This is what it all adds up to. These are the words we use to describe a really great mix. And by now, you know the answer to how we get them. Every single one of these qualities, from the warmth of the low end all the way to the sheen of the high end, is a direct result of masterful, intentional control of frequency. But for a while there, the industry kind of lost its way. This timeline tells the fascinating story of the loudness wars. For years, the only goal was to make songs as loud as humanly possible by just crushing their dynamic range. But then, streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music came along and introduced loudness normalization. Now, they automatically turn every song up or down to a standard level. So all of a sudden, a super loud crushed song has zero advantage. In fact, it just sounds distorted and weak next to a dynamic punchy track. Technology literally forced the industry to rediscover the value of frequency balance.
So there you have it. Frequency isn't just a number on a dial, it's the fundamental language of all sound. And now, you have the vocabulary. The next time you put on your favorite album, I want you to listen closer. Listen for the space. Listen for the clarity, the punch. Listen for the decisions that were made. You now speak the language. So my question to you is, what will you hear differently?
Join the Telegram. The link will be down below in the description. In the Telegram, I'll be posting some behind the scenes stuff that I do and won't cut it for YouTube or Instagram and stuff like that. So the Telegram will be easier to ask me questions, reach out to me, and I'll be able to provide you with resources and different stuff like that, products and services that I'll be coming out with. I'm going to show you guys how to use AI and incorporate it in music production. For example, if you haven't checked out the website, Crook Productions, go check it out. I made that with AI completely for free. So I'll show you guys how to do that too. I want to remind you to subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment,